You know, at some point I'm going to learn to stop promising to make videos on a specific date, because it's never going to happen. Hello everybody, VideoJames, and we're finally back with a Blue-Eyes deck profile. So I know I promised a couple of deck profiles a long time ago, but I've been trying to get them out, and OBS has said nope. Like, every time I've tried to record a Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile video, either the encoder's overloaded, to where I couldn't get the last half of the video, and my face cam was always frozen, which is why you don't see one in this video, to try and mitigate the overloading. Or, the audio, the background music, that you're probably hearing right now, at least in the background, has been on the same level as my voice, which is a no-go, because then I can't be heard over the music. So with that being said, let's get into this deck profile, and as you can see, it's Blue Eyes. Of course it's Blue Eyes, it's always Blue Eyes. When is it not Blue Eyes? So it's actually a fusion profile, and it's actually my new favorite fusion profile because no Predaplants are involved. Thank God those things are gone. I do not like them. Like, honestly, I don't even... It's not that I hate Predaplants, it's that they don't work. It's like, every time you play Predaplants, you don't want to play Predaplants, because if you draw into anything other than Scorpio, and you draw more than one, then you draw a dead hand. And with this deck, it is much more streamlined, it is much more efficient, and there is some new stuff integrated that has absolutely just made the deck so much better. And I'm not going to go into too much profiles on the cards, because a lot of these are old cards. I will go into profile in some of the new ones, and some of the more important ones, like Alternative and the Stones, I'll go into those. Some of the new cards that I put in this deck, like the number cards at the end, I'll go into that. So without further ado, let's get into it. So of course, we're running Blue Eyes, we gotta have our 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons, and our 3 Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragons. Blue Eyes Alternative actually just got reprinted in Secret, which is really good for me, because I love Secret Rare as the best rarity. So basically, Alternative is the same thing as Blue Eyes, same attack stats, same level, same attribute, same type, but it can't be normal summoned or set, and it has to be special summoned by revealing a Blue Eyes from your hand, and you can use it to pop one monster your opponent controls, but Alternative can't attack on that turn. And of course we've got the 1 Dragon Spirit of White, just as our kinda out for White Stone of Ancients, to give us that way to summon a Blue Eye should we need to. And then we are running the Stone Engine with 3 White Stone of Ancients and 1 White Stone of Legend. Now, we're actually running 3 White Stone of Ancients because we're able to discard it more effectively and get rid of it more. So we do actually have a better way to just out the stones altogether. So basically, White Stone of Ancients, level 1 Dragon Tuner, once per turn during the end phase. If it was sent in the graveyard that turn and it's still there, you can special summon a Blue Eyes monster from your deck, except of course Alternative, because you have to special summon it from your hand first. And you can banish the stone from your graveyard to add a Blue Eyes from your graveyard to your hand. And then of course we got the 1 White Stone of Legend, our Blue Eyes Searcher, that whenever this thing's sent to the grave, you're gonna be getting a Blue Eyes. And then for the Fusion Engine, we've got 3 Kings of the Swamp. This thing is so much better than the Predaplants, let me tell you. So basically, if you don't know what this thing does, is its stats and all that don't really matter. It can be used as any substitute for any one fusion material specifically listed on Fusion, but the other materials have to be correct. So say if you wanted to summon Twin Burst and you had an alternative on the field, you could normal summon this and then use Polymerization to get out Twin Burst. Tributing doesn't work with the King of the Swamps though. I don't know why. Because like, YGO Pro has never given me the option to tribute King of the Swamp for a Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon. Then we've also got 1 Maiden with Eyes of Blue. She's been really in here a lot, just because with all the targeting stuff that's gone on, and the rise of Shaddolls, Maiden once again does have prominence, and can make use of her effects. And then we've also got 2 Nibiru the Primal Being. I have a love-hate relationship for this card. I hate it being used on me. I hate that I forget that its effect gives the token it summons a combined attack and defense, but I love that it gets rid of all my opponent's monsters when they spam. So if you don't know what Nibiru does, if your opponent normal or special summons 5 or more monsters during their turn, quick effect, you can tribute Nibiru to special summon it from your hand, and then you can give them a token with attack and defense equal to the combined attack and defense of every single monster tributed. Then moving on to the spell cards, we've got 3 Melody of Awakening Dragon. This one's in here as our main searcher. This is going to be your card that you always use to get an alternative and a Blue Eyes in your hand, that pretty much 90% of the time that's what you're going to be doing, unless you're going to be adding 2 Blue Eyes or 2 alternatives because you already have Blue Eyes in your hand. And then we've also got 1 for 1, and 1 Foolish Burial to round off our searchers. And then for the fusion cards, we got 2 Polymerization and 1 Dragon's Mirror. I wanted to say 3 there for a minute. Dragon's Mirror actually does help because most of the time, if you can't really fusion summon an ultimate or go into a good XCA's first turn, you're going to be summoning Twin Burst as kind of that wall. So having Dragon's Mirror kind of gives you that out for when you get another Blue Eyes on the field, you can just immediately go into an alternative Ultimate Dragon. And then we've also got the Reborn cards, so we got 3 Return of the Dragon Lords, we got 1 Monster Reborn, and hey, why not make a quick play, because it's on a beautiful day, Silver's Cry. And then for the draw cards, we got 3 Trade-In, of course we're running so many level 8s, we gotta have Trade-In. We got 1 Cards of Consonance for all the level 1 Dragon Tuners. And then for the support, we've got 3 Called by the Grave and 1 Twin Twister. Now the reason I'm running Twin Twister is because Blue Eyes doesn't really have a lot of back row protection, and I'm seeing a lot more back row decks show up. Especially with Shadalls and their new continuous traps, they're getting a lot more use out of back row now. And with the amount of zombie decks that I've seen, Twin Twister absolutely helps with them because it gets rid of Zombie World so they can't summon Balrog. And it just does, again, help discard our stones and get them in the grave so they can use their effects. Then we got 1 Ultimate Creature of Destruction and Game Condition of Skill Drain. I'm honestly going to bet that Skill Drain probably gets hit in one of the future ban lists, because this is a win condition anymore. Because so many decks rely on their effect monsters, Skill Drain is kind of literally a win condition for anything that doesn't need an effect, like Blue Eyes. And of course, Ultimate Creature of Destruction is our protection card that makes Blue Eyes unaffected, can't be destroyed by battle, and any monster that battles it is destroyed at the end of the damage step, and it's got its recovery effect, but I only really feel like needing to run it at 1. I wouldn't really say you need to run it at 2. Same condition for Dragon Spirit of White, too. You don't really need to run them at 2 because they kind of clog up anymore, but running them at 1 still makes them efficient, and they can do pretty hefty damage to your opponent. And then for the extra deck, we're starting off with 2 Blue Eyes Alternative Ultimate Dragon. This thing is a god for Blue Eyes. So basically what this does is it takes 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons, your opponent can't target it with card effects, and once per turn, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, or up to 3 if it was summoned using Alternative Dragon, and destroy them. But Alternative Ultimate Dragon can't attack during that turn. This thing is pretty much a god for Blue Eyes. Again, like, this is, on its own, very much an almost invincible card unless you have a Kaiju. And then we've also got 1 Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. I was thinking about running it at 2, but then I'm like, do I really use its primary effect that much? So basically, same requirements as Alternative Ultimate, and its effect is at the end of the damage step, if it's the only face-up card you control, and it was fusion summoned, and it attacked, you can send a Blue Eyes fusion monster from your extra deck to the grave, and Neo can attack up to 2 times again, depending on how many fusions you send. And during either player's turn, when a card or effect is activated that would target a monster on the field, that is a Blue Eyes monster, you can banish Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate from the graveyard, negate the activation, and destroy it. So, again, the first effect never really happens. The second effect can kinda be good, but you're really not gonna go for Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate enough to actually make use of it. And honestly, I would be slightly tempted to maybe say take out Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate and put in regular Ultimate, just so you could run Blue Eyes Shining Dragon in place of something. And then we've also got Blue Eyes Twin Burst, of course, as our wall, our battle protection, and our destroyer. So it takes 2 Blue Eyes, same attack points and defense points as Blue Eyes, and it has to be either fusion summoned, or summoned by tributing the cards you control to the grave. It can't be destroyed by battle, and it can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. And if it attacks a monster and that monster isn't destroyed, then Twin Burst can say, yeah, okay, I'm gonna banish that. Like, in all honesty, this thing is absolutely amazing at taking out defensive walls, because it gets the double attack, and anything that will be prevented from destruction is still destroyed by Twin Burst. And then moving on to the Synchros, we got one Azure-Eyes Silver Dragon, of course, the original Synchro for Blue Eyes. Gives us that protection from card effects the turn it's summoned, and it also gives us that revival from normal monsters. And then we've also got Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, only running one of, not really needing two anymore, just because you kind of don't really need two. So basically, Spirit takes a tuner and a non-tuner Blue Eyes monster, can't special summon more than two monsters at the same time, either player. So that effect was useful when Pendulums came out, but now it's kind of fallen behind in its usefulness. And once returned during either player's turn when an effect is the graveyard is activated, you can use Spirit to negate it, and during either player's turn, you can tribute this Synchro Summon card to special summon a Light Dragon type Synchro monster from your extra deck in defense position, except for Spirit, but it's destroyed during the end phase. Which is why we're running Azure-Eyes and Stardust Spark, because they can protect from destruction. And then moving on to Stardust Spark, we've got, of course, him. And basically it's Stardust Dragon, but it has to target one card, and it can't be destroyed by battle or card effect for the rest of that turn. And it does have the same requirements as Stardust, but it's a level 8 Light Dragon instead of a level 8 Wind Dragon. Now, the reason I'm not running Black Rose Moonlight Dragon is because I haven't seen enough reason to run Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. I might see a little more reason because Shaddolls have come back, and I do kind of see a rise in ABC in the future because they're kind of getting bought out at the moment. So there might be case to run Black Rose Moonlight in the future. There also might be case when Adamantia come out, their main thing is going to be Synchro Summoning into huge monsters. So having Black Rose Moonlight kind of gives you that bounce, that if you need to bounce, say, their dragon, to actually stop them from getting that spell negation and return to the hand effect, then you have Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. And then moving on to the Xps Extra Deck, we've got, of course, Galaxy-Eyes Cipher Dragon and Galaxy-Eyes Cipher Blade Dragon. I've seen people take out Cipher Blade for full armor. I still like running Cipher Blade, just because Cipher Blade has its destruction effect. It has less restrictions than full armor Photon Dragon, and it can actually revive Galaxy-Eyes Cipher Dragon if Cipher Blade gets destroyed. So it's honestly really good and kind of hard to ignore. So I'll go over them real quick. Basically, Galaxy-Eyes Cipher Dragon takes 2 level 8 monsters. Once per turn, you can attach 1 Xyz material from it to target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Monsters you control can't attack directly for the rest of the turn, except for Cipher Dragon. The monster of your opponent that you took control of now has its effects negated, its name becomes Galaxy-Eyes Cipher Dragon, and its attack points become 3,000. Now that used to be useful when links weren't a thing, because you just immediately use that to Xyz summon into full armor, and then you could use your actual Cipher Dragon to direct attack, and you'd also have a 4,000 attack point monster to not only pop a card, but destroy a monster if they had one, and then you'd also still get the 3,000 attack point beater, and then you'd also be able to, at the end of that turn, Xyz into Cipher Blade Dragon still. So Cipher Blade Dragon, what he does is you can Xyz summon him using a rank 8 Galaxy-Eyes monster you control, and it can't be used for an Xyz material. But its secondary effect of once per turn, you can attach a material from this card to target one card in the field and destroy it, is really good because you can not only use that to just take out one of your opponent's cards, but you can also use it to take out their card that you stole using Cipher Dragon, and prevent them from actually being able to use it again next turn. And of course, if Cipher Blade Dragon is destroyed by battle with an opponent's attacking monster or by an opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard, then you can special summon Cipher Dragon from your graveyard. And then moving on to the number engine, we got number 38 as our spell negator and as our attack reducer, that this guy can actually redirect the attacks of anything at an Xyz monster to him. And we've also got number 97 Draglubion, number 107 Galaxy-Eyes Tachyon Dragon, and number C107 Galaxy-Eyes Neo Tachyon Dragon. So this engine is kind of more made just to be spammy, but at the same time it really does work because it just gives you those 3,000 attack point dragons. So Draglubion, what he does is he takes 2 level 8s, not at all hard to make with Blue Eyes, 3,000 in both stats, and your opponent cannot target it with card effects. pretty much becoming a common theme for Blue Eyes that I'm noticing. You can detach a material from number 97 to take 2 dragon number monsters with different names from your extra deck and or graveyard, except number 97, and special summon one of them with the other attached to it as an Xyz material. But for the rest of the turn, you can't special summon or declare an attack except with that card. So Draglubion does still have its restrictions, but it is kinda to the point where those restrictions don't really even matter. Because you can instantly just get either a Tachyon or a Neo Tachyon, or even a number 38, and pretty much lock down any given deck. So number 107, what it does is it takes 2 level 8 monsters. Once per battle phase, at the start of the battle phase, you can detach a material from them. All other face-up monsters on the field have their effects negated, their attack and defense get reduced to their original, and any battle phase effect that activates and resolves gives Tachyon Dragon an extra 1000 attack points and an extra attack. To put that in perspective, when when Madolches were still a popular deck, Galaxy-Eyes Tachyon Dragon could get up to 10,000 attack points in one turn, because of the reshuffle effect. And then number C107 kinda has a similar effect. Once per turn, you can catch 1 material from it until the end of this turn. You negate the effects of all of the face-up cards currently on the field, and your opponent can't activate cards or effects on the field. Now, I'm pretty sure that does actually apply to set cards as well. And if it has 107 as an Xyz material, it actually gains the effect of you can tribute 2 monsters to make up to 3 attacks on monsters during the battle phase with C107. So it kind of turns itself into Obelisk. And then for the links, we've got 1 Heretic Seal of the 7 Spheres and 1 Link Karibo. These guys are just in here as the links because we still need them for Master Rule 4, but I'm probably not going to take them out for Master Rule 5. Just because they do still work out incredibly well, and they give the deck that competitive edge. Plus, I mean, Link Karibo is Link Karibo. If you're running level 1s, you're going to be running Link Karibo. So that is pretty much it for the Blue Eyes deck. Now, I do actually have a replay I want to show, because I actually got a decent replay going on recently. And it was against Invoked Shaddolls. So let's actually see some of that, shall we? So I'm going to be saying what goes on here, because this whole thing kinda goes a little too fast for the eye to catch sometimes. So you can see, the starting hands aren't that bad. He gets a Ghost Ogre, a Hedgehog, a Dragon, a Mind Control, and a Damage Juggler. Pretty good first hand for Shaddolls, if I gotta say. And I get 2 Reborn cards, a Melody of Awakening Dragon, an Alternative, and a Called by the Grave. Not that bad either for Blue Eyes. So what happens is, he ends up setting the Hedgehog and just ending right there. And I actually draw into another trade-in, or not another trade-in, I draw into a trade-in, and that kind of sets up the whole rest of his turn. So what I do is I use Melody of Awakening Dragon to discard the alternative, and I add a Blue Eyes and alternative to my hand. And at this point I go for Draglubion, so I use the alternative to summon it, I Monster Reborn the Blue Eyes, and then from there I go into Heavenly Spheres, and then from that point on I can pretty much just do whatever I want. So I use Return of the Dragon Lords to bring back the alternative, and before going into the number 97, I try and use alternative to blow up the Hedgehog. And he tries to Ghost Ogre, so I prevent it with the Return of the Dragon Lords. And of course, once Shaddol Hedgehog is destroyed, its effect activates, but I Called by the Grave that to stop it. And then I just Silver's Cry to bring back the other Blue Eyes, and I go into Draglubion. And then I can just immediately go into number C107, and set the Return of the Dragon Lords. And then at this point, he really doesn't have much chance, but he does kind of discard the Damage Juggler to prevent himself from dying immediately. And then he goes for the Mind Control, which is gonna end up being pointless, and he banishes the Damage Juggler to add Hat Trigger. But unfortunately, because he tries to use number C107's effect, I tribute Heretic Seal and return it to my hand, which actually lets me get it back later with Draglubion. And of course, because of Heretic Seal, I'm actually able to special summon Blue Eyes. He summons the Tricker and the Shaddol Dragon. Doesn't really matter, and like I said, I've got enough to bring him back. So I return the Blue Eyes, I use Draglubion's effect to special summon number C107, and attach 107 from the grave as a material. And then once that happens, Neo Galaxy Eyes, I use this effect to tribute Blue Eyes and Draglubion, since they're not really of any more use to me, to take out both of his monsters. And then he goes for the Shaddol Incarnation to actually put Shaddol Dragon back on the field, And that's going to end up hurting me a little bit because he actually does kind of work that onto number C107 and get it back into my hand. And then we kind of just end up in a standstill here where it ends up doing not much anything because he gets a Alistair and I have skill drain. So it kind of just locks us down for 1 or 2 turns and he just does a couple points of damage to me. And then it's at this point that I kind of just pull out the Melody of Awakening Dragon, go for the Blue Eyes alternative, and pretty much just end the game here. And then he goes for the draw, Dark Ruler no more. Again, he can't really do anything, so I can just straight up finish him off with alternative. So yeah, like I said, I really do like this fusion build so much better. It works so much more than the Predator Plant engine. And if you guys do want to actually get it, the cheapest cards aren't actually that bad. I think the most expensive cards right now are Alternative, Nibiru, and Ultimate Creature of Destruction. I'm trying to think of something. I know there's another card that's bad, but not, like, expensive bad. I think it's called By the Grave, actually, because of trying to actually get them is the hard part. But yeah, the deck runs amazingly well. It's relatively cheap, actually, compared to, like, Sky Strikers and all that, where they had to spend the $300-something just to get half the deck. And again, if you like Blue Eyes, it's fun, easy to run, and you don't really need to think that much about it. And with that said, I'm going to leave this video here, and I'm honestly glad that I haven't seen an encoding error showed up this entire time. And if you guys are glad that you actually get to see this video, then go ahead and slap the like button as always, and I'll see all you beautiful people in the next video.